Sunho Kang sat alone in the dark room of Luna Base. His eyes hurt from staring at the screen for so many hours. For 3 weeks, he had been working on the same encrypted message. It was not his job to decode secret transmissions. He was just a communications engineer. But this message had come through a channel that should not exist. And something told him it was important. Tonight, the code finally broke. As the words appeared on his screen, Sunho felt his blood turn cold. He read the message once, then twice, then a third time, hoping he had made a mistake. But the words did not change. The message was from High Arbiter Vellum, leader of the Galactic Council, to someone called Primary Broker. It talked about Earth. It talked about humans, and it talked about something called the Vec Swarm. The humans remain unaware, the message said. Their military capability stays at acceptable levels. The protection accord continues to function as designed. Delivery to the Vec remains scheduled for cycle 447. Payment has been received. Sunho's hands were shaking. He had grown up believing the Galactic Council was humanity's protector. 50 years ago, they had found Earth and welcomed humans into their great civilization. They said humans were too young, too violent, too dangerous to have advanced weapons. The protection accord was supposed to keep humanity safe while they learned to be peaceful. It was all a lie. The Council had not protected Earth. They had kept Earth weak on purpose. And now they were going to sell humanity to something called the Vec. Sunho copied the message to a secure drive. He erased all evidence from his terminal. Then, he sat in the darkness, trying to decide what to do. If he told the wrong person, he would disappear. The Council had eyes everywhere. But if he stayed silent, everyone he loved would die. He thought of his mother in Busan, his little sister who wanted to be an astronaut, his friends who had no idea that their entire species had been marked for death. Sunho made his choice. 3 days later, he stood in an underground room beneath Seoul. Across the table sat a woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. Her name was Colonel Mireille Choi, and she was the head of Earth Intelligence Operations. Very few people knew her organization existed. Mireille read the decoded message without expression. When she finished, she looked at Sunho for a long moment. "You did well to bring this to me," she said. "If you had gone to anyone else, you would be dead by now." "Is it true?" Sunho asked. "Are they really going to sell us?" "Yes." Mireille stood and walked to a large screen on the wall. She pressed her hand against it, and the screen came alive with data. "We have suspected for years. The Council takes our resources. They limit our technology. They watch everything we do, but we could never prove why." She turned back to Sunho. "Now we can." "What are the Vec?" Sunho asked. He was almost afraid to know. Mireille pulled up an image. Sunho wished she had not. The creature on the screen was something from a nightmare. It was huge and twisted, with too many limbs and a mouth that seemed to go on forever. Its body was like a ship and an insect combined into one terrible thing. "The Vec are a swarm species," Mireille said. "They do not build. They do not create. They consume. Entire planets. Entire civilizations. They have eaten over 200 species that we know of. And the Council feeds them?" Sunho felt sick. The Council survives by feeding them. They find young species, keep them weak, and then deliver them when the Vec get hungry. Mireille's voice was cold with anger. Earth was always meant to be food. Sunho wanted to scream. He wanted to cry. But more than anything, he wanted to fight. "What do we do?" Mireille smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We show them they made a mistake." She led Sunho deeper into the underground base, through doors that required codes and blood samples and eye scans. Finally, they entered a vast room filled with screens and people working at terminals. In the center stood a holographic display showing something that made Sunho's heart stop. It was a fleet. Hundreds of warships. Unlike anything Sunho had ever seen. They were sleek and dark, and looked like they were made to kill. "The Council thinks we are helpless," Mireille said. "They think we obeyed their rules. They were wrong. For 30 years, we have been building in secret, hidden bases in the asteroid belt, weapons that the Council cannot even imagine. We call it Project Blackout." A woman approached them. She was younger than Mireille, with kind eyes that did not match the terrible weapons on the screens around her. Her name was Dr. Yuna Kim, and she had built those weapons. 212 ships, Yuna said. Each one carrying weapons that bypass their shields completely. The Council uses energy barriers, very advanced, very powerful. So we did not try to break through them. We built weapons that fold space itself. Our missiles appear inside their ships. Their shields are useless. Sunho could not believe what he was hearing. How long until we can fight? The ships are ready, Yuna said. They have been ready for years. We were waiting for proof that the Council truly meant us harm. You gave us that proof. Mireille put her hand on Sunho's shoulder. There is one more person you need to meet. She led him to a private room where an old man sat looking at a screen. His hair was white, and his face was lined with age. But his eyes were sharp and clear. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations, but Sunho knew immediately that this man had commanded armies. Admiral Teho Park, Mireille said. The message, sir. It is confirmed. Admiral Teho read the message slowly. When he finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he stood and looked out the window at the earth above them. 50 years, he said softly. 50 years they smiled at us. They called us friends. They said they were protecting us. He turned to face them, and his eyes were burning. They thought we were sheep, soft, stupid, easy to control. He walked to the display showing the hidden fleet. 200 warships waited in the darkness between planets. Silent and deadly, they are about to learn what wolves look like. Admiral Teho began giving orders. Ships that had slept for years woke up. Crews that had trained in secret received their orders. Across the solar system, humanity prepared for war. The Galactic Council had lied for 50 years. In 3 months, the Vec would come to eat humanity like they had eaten so many others, but they would not find sheep waiting for them. They would find wolves. And the wolves were very, very hungry. Deep in the asteroid belt, far from any planet, Captain Jinwoo Baek walked through the halls of the warship Silent Thunder. He had spent 10 years on this ship, training for a war that everyone hoped would never come. Now it was here. The Silent Thunder was not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. It was black as space itself, invisible to every sensor the Council used. Its weapons did not fire lasers or missiles in the normal way. They tore holes in reality. Jinwoo had seen the tests. He had watched target ships simply cease to exist, swallowed by wounds in space that healed as quickly as they opened. The Council had kept humanity primitive for 50 years. In that time, human scientists had not wasted a single day. Admiral Teho's face appeared on every screen in the hidden fleet. 200 ships, scattered across the asteroid belt, all watched as the old man spoke. You know why we are here, Teho said. You know what the Council has done. You know what is coming for Earth. I will not give you speeches about glory or honor. I will only tell you the truth. In 2 months, 10,000 Vec ships will arrive to eat our families, our friends, our children, everything we love. He paused. The silence was heavy. The Council sold us because they thought we were weak. Today, we prove them wrong. The wolves hunt. The fleet came alive. Engines that had waited years burned hot. Crews ran to their stations. Across 1 million kilometers of empty space, humanity's secret weapon, prepared for war. Jinwoo reported to the briefing room where Colonel Mireille Choi waited with a small team. Unlike the soldiers around her, Mireille did not wear a combat uniform. She wore simple black clothes that would not stand out in a crowd. Her mission was not to fight. It was something more dangerous. Captain Baek, she said, your squadron will provide cover for our insertion. We are going to the heart of the Council. Jinwoo nodded. He had read the mission files. Mireille and her team would use fold technology to appear directly on the Council's capital world. They would plant surveillance devices, steal information, and map every defense the Council had. The Council does not know about fold tech, Mireille continued. They have never seen anything like it. We will appear inside their most secure facilities without warning. We will be gone before they understand what happened. And if something goes wrong? Jinwoo asked. Mireille smiled coldly. Then your squadron burns their capital to the ground and picks us up from the ashes. Jinwoo liked this plan. While the fleet prepared, Dr. Yuna Kim worked in her laboratory on the command ship. Around her were devices that would have looked like magic to the Council's scientists. Human technology had taken a different path. one that the galaxy had never imagined. The Council used energy shields because they believed shields were the ultimate defense. For 10,000 years, every species in the galaxy had tried to build better weapons to break those shields. No one had succeeded. Humans did not try to break the shields. They asked a different question. What if you did not need to break them? What if you could simply go around them? The answer was the silence engine. Instead of firing at a target, the silence engine folded space itself. For a brief moment, the inside of an enemy ship became the outside. Then space unfolded, and everything that had been inside was now scattered across the void. Shields could not stop it. Armor could not stop it. Nothing could stop it, because there was nothing to stop. The weapon did not attack the ship. It simply moved the ship's inside somewhere else. Una had built this horror, and it kept her awake at night. But when she thought of the Vec coming to eat Earth, she felt no guilt, only cold satisfaction. A message arrived for her. Ambassador Tora, the only alien who had tried to warn Earth, had made contact. Tora was a strange creature, tall and thin with silver skin and 4 arms. Her species had been protected by the Council for 300 years. They had learned the truth too late to save themselves. Now they lived as servants, too broken to fight back. Tora's message was short. The Vec have moved their schedule. They are coming sooner than expected. You have 6 weeks, not 8. I am sending Council fleet positions. Use them well. Make them pay for what they have done to all of us. Una brought this news to Admiral Tejo. The old man listened without expression. 6 weeks, he said. Then we move in 3. We hit the Council first, blind them, break them. Then we turn to face the Vec. Can we win? Una asked. She needed to hear him say it. Winning is not the question, Tejo replied. Surviving is not the question. The only question is this. When the Vec arrive, will they find easy prey, or will they find something that makes them bleed? I choose to make them bleed. He looked out at the stars. For 50 years, the Council smiled at us while planning our death. They thought humans were like the other species they had betrayed. Soft, trusting, unwilling to do what must be done. His voice hardened. They were wrong. We came from a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages. We survived plagues. We survived each other. We are not soft. We are not trusting. And we are very, very willing to do what must be done. 3 weeks later, Jinwu's squadron escorted Mirei's team to the edge of Council space. Their ships were completely invisible, hidden by technology the Council could not detect. Mirei stood in the fold chamber, ready to be thrown across the galaxy in an instant. Her team carried no guns, only small devices that would plant themselves in Council systems and send information back to Earth. See you on the other side, Jinwu said through the communicator. Mirei nodded. Then space folded around her, and she was gone. She appeared in a storage room on the Council's capital world. Alarms should have sounded. Guards should have come running. But nothing happened. The Council had no sensors for fold technology. To them, Mirei had simply appeared from nowhere. For 3 days, she moved through the most secure facilities in the galaxy like a ghost. She planted devices in military command centers. She copied files from intelligence databases. She mapped every defense station, every fleet position, every secret the Council had. What she found made her blood run cold. The Council had no real military. For 10,000 years, they had ruled through manipulation and fear. They let their protected species do the fighting. They made deals with the Vec. They never needed to be strong, because no one ever fought back. They had forgotten how to fight. And now humanity was coming. Mirei returned to the fleet with everything they needed. Admiral Tejo reviewed the intelligence and began to laugh. It was not a happy sound. They are defenseless, he said. 10,000 years of ruling the galaxy, and they cannot fight at all. They kept us weak because they were weak themselves. He turned to his officers. In 1 week, we strike. Every command station, every communication hub, every military base they pretend to have. We hit them all at once, and we hit them so hard they will never recover. Across the fleet, wolves prepared to hunt. High Arbiter Vellum sat in his golden chamber at the heart of the Galactic Council. For 200 years, he had ruled the galaxy from this room. He had made deals with monsters, He had fed entire species to the Vec to keep his own people safe. He had lied to 1,000 worlds and smiled while doing it. Today was supposed to be a good day. The humans were almost ready for delivery. The Vec had paid well. Soon, another threat would be removed from the galaxy, and the Council would continue its eternal rule. Then the lights went out, not just in his chamber, not just in his building. Across the entire capital world, every light, every screen, every system went dark. For 3 long seconds, Vellum sat in perfect blackness. When the emergency lights came on, a face appeared on every screen. It was a human, an old man with white hair and eyes like cold stars. He wore a simple military uniform, and he was not smiling. "I am Admiral Tejo Park of Earth," the human said. "For 50 years, you lied to my people. You stole from us. You planned to feed us to monsters. Today, we collect what we are owed." Vellum's guards rushed into the room, but they could not help him. The transmission was everywhere. Every screen on every world in Council space showed the same face. "Right now," Admiral Tejo continued, "your 12 command stations are dying. Your fleets cannot communicate. Your governments cannot speak to each other. You are alone, confused, helpless." He paused. "Now you know how Earth felt for 50 years. Vellum screamed for reports. His aides ran to consoles, trying to find out what was happening. The news that came back was impossible. The humans had appeared from nowhere. No warning, no approaching fleet. One moment, space was empty. The next moment, 200 warships were firing weapons that the Council had never seen. Station Prime, the largest military base in the galaxy, was gone. Not damaged, not captured. Gone. The entire structure had simply ceased to exist, replaced by a hole in space that swallowed everything nearby. 7 other stations had suffered the same fate. The remaining 4 were under attack, and their shields were useless. Human weapons did not hit shields. They passed through them like they were not there. "This is impossible," Vellum whispered. "They are primitive. They have nothing." He was learning how wrong he had been. Across the galaxy, Captain Jinwoo Baek led his squadron through the burning remains of a Council defense fleet. It had not been a battle. It had been an execution. The Council ships had tried to fight back, but their weapons could not lock onto targets that kept folding through space. Their shields could not stop weapons that ignored physical matter entirely. Jinwoo felt no joy in the killing. These crews had not known about the Council's lies. They were just soldiers following orders. But they stood between humanity and survival, so they had to die. "All targets destroyed," his wingman reported, moving to secondary objectives. Jinwoo checked his mission status. His squadron was responsible for clearing the path to the Council chambers themselves. Colonel Mireille and her strike team were waiting for the signal to move. "Thunder, lead to command," Jinwoo said. "Zone is clear. Ready for ground insertion." Admiral Tejo's voice came back immediately. "Excellent work, Captain. Begin Phase 2. Bring me Vellum." On the Council's capital world, reality tore open in the heart of the government complex. Colonel Mireille and 20 soldiers stepped through the wound in space, weapons ready. The guards never had a chance. Human soldiers moved with speed and precision that the Council species could not match. Millions of years ago, humans had hunted animals on an open plain. They had fought each other in endless wars. They had trained their bodies and minds for combat since before they could write. The Council species had evolved in safety. They had soft bodies, slow reflexes, minds designed for politics, not war. When they saw humans moving toward them with weapons firing, many simply froze in terror. Mireille did not let herself feel sorry for them. She thought of her home, her family, the billions of humans who would be eaten by the Vec if she failed. She pulled her trigger and kept moving. In 3 minutes, her team had reached the Council chambers. The great doors, which had never been breached in 10,000 years, exploded inward. High Arbiter Vellum stood at the back of the room, surrounded by his aides. His face was twisted with disbelief and rage. "You cannot do this," he said. "We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled for 10,000 years." Mireille walked toward him slowly. "We are not food," she said. "We are the thing that food should have feared." She grabbed Vellum by his thin neck and threw him to the ground. Her soldiers secured the other Council members. forcing them to their knees. "You sold us to the Vec," Mireille said. "Now you will tell us everything about them. How they fight, how they think, how they die." "You cannot defeat the Vec," Vellum laughed. It was a desperate, broken sound. "No one defeats the Vec. They are endless. They will swarm your little planet and consume every last human alive. We only delayed the inevitable. You should be thanking us for the extra time." Mireille knelt beside him. Her voice was very quiet. "Let me tell you something about humans. We have a saying. It is better to die standing than to live kneeling. You have spent 10,000 years on your knees, feeding others to monsters so you could survive. We will not do that. We will fight, and we will die if we must, but we will never kneel." She stood up. "Admiral, I have Vellum. The council chambers are secured." Tejo's voice filled the room. "Well done, Colonel. Begin interrogation. I want to know everything about the Vec before they arrive." For the next several hours, Vellum talked. He had no choice. Human interrogation techniques were far more advanced than anything the council had experienced. They did not need to hurt him, they simply convinced his brain to tell the truth. The information he provided was terrifying. The Vec were not just a species. They were a force of nature. Their ships were alive, grown from biological matter that could heal any damage. Their warriors were bred for nothing but killing. Their queen controlled them all through a connection that spanned light years. But the Vec had weaknesses too. They were not creative. They could not adapt to new situations. They relied on their numbers and their queen. If the queen died, the swarm would become confused, lost, easy to destroy. The queen's ship was coming with the main fleet. A creature the size of a small moon, ancient and terrible. If humanity could kill it, they could win. Admiral Tejo received this news on his command ship. Around him, officers were celebrating the destruction of the council. They had won a great victory. But Tejo knew the real battle was still coming. "The council was never our enemy," he said quietly. "They were just the ones holding the door shut. Now the door is open, and something far worse is coming through." He looked at the tactical display. 6 weeks until the Vec arrived. 10,000 ships. One queen. Against them, humanity had 200 warships and weapons the Vec had never seen. It would have to be enough. Tejo opened a channel to all ships. "Today, we broke the chains the council put on us. We proved that humans are not sheep to be sold, but our real test is coming. The Vec are the reason the council sold us. The Vec are the monsters that have eaten 200 civilizations. In 6 weeks, they come for Earth." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. "We will be ready. We will fight. And when the Vec arrive, they will learn what the council learned today. Humanity is not prey. Humanity is the hunter. And we are very, very hungry." Across the fleet, humans prepared for the battle that would decide their survival. The news of the council's fall spread across the galaxy like fire. For 10,000 years, the council had been the only power. Species had been born and died under their rule. No one could imagine a galaxy without them. Then the humans came. On 100 worlds, beings watched the recordings of the attack. They saw human ships appear from nowhere. They saw council stations vanish in wounds of twisted space. They saw Admiral Tejo's face, cold and hard, promising revenge for 50 years of lies. Some species felt fear. If humans could destroy the council so easily, what would stop them from destroying everyone else? But other species felt something different. Something they had not felt in thousands of years. Hope. Ambassador Tora was the first to act. Her people, the Cylon, had been protected by the council for 300 years. In that time, they had lost their home world, their culture, their pride. They had become servants, living only because the council found them useful. Now the council was gone. Tora gathered every Cylon ship she could find. It was not many, just 30 vessels, old and poorly armed. But they were something. She sent a message to Admiral Tejo. "We wish to fight with you against the Vec. We know we are weak. We know we may die, but we would rather die fighting than live as slaves." Tejo read the message. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he replied, "All who wish to fight are welcome. Come to Earth. We will stand together." More messages came. The Bren, a species known for building the strongest ships in the galaxy, offered their engineering skills. The Council had forbidden them from building warships, but they had kept the knowledge alive in secret. The Torva, small creatures with brilliant minds, offered to help improve human weapons. The Kel, giants with 4 arms and skin like stone, offered their bodies as soldiers. Within 2 weeks, over 100 alien ships had gathered near Earth. They were not a proper fleet. They had different weapons, different systems, different ways of fighting, but they all shared one thing: hatred for those who had kept them weak. Dr. Yuna Kim worked day and night to adapt human technology for the alien ships. She installed fold drives on vessels that had never imagined such things. She taught alien engineers how to build silence engines. She created a network that would let all the ships communicate and fight as one. It is not enough, she told Admiral Tejo during a late-night meeting. We have 300 ships now. The Vec have 10,000. Even with our technology, the numbers are impossible. Tejo nodded slowly. What about the weapon? The Genesis bomb? Yuna was quiet for a moment. The Genesis bomb was her greatest creation and her deepest shame. It did not just destroy targets. It tore apart the fabric of reality itself, creating a wound that consumed everything within its range. It is ready, she said. But I do not know exactly what it will do. In small tests, it worked perfectly. But at full power, she shook her head. I cannot predict the effects. It could destroy the Vec fleet. It could destroy our own ships. It could tear a hole in space that never heals. But it could win us the battle? It could, if we are lucky. Tejo stood and looked out at the stars. Luck is not a strategy, but sometimes it is all we have. Prepare the bomb. We will use it only if there is no other choice. While the fleet prepared, Sun Ho Kang sat in a small room on Luna Base, studying everything they had learned about the Vec. He had started this whole thing by finding a single message. Now he wanted to help finish it. The Vec fascinated and terrified him. They were not evil in the way the Council was evil. They did not lie or scheme or betray. They simply ate. It was all they knew, all they wanted, a galaxy-wide hunger that could never be satisfied. But Sun Ho noticed something in the data. The Vec swarm moved as one, thousands of ships acting like a single creature. That should have been impossible. Ships were too far apart to communicate instantly. Unless, he ran to find Dr. Yuna. The Queen, he said, breathless. She does not just control the swarm. She is the swarm. Every Vec ship is connected to her. When she thinks, they act. It is not communication, it is thought itself. Yuna understood immediately. If we kill the Queen, the swarm dies, or at least, it goes insane. Thousands of ships suddenly alone, without guidance, without purpose. They would crash into each other, attack randomly, maybe even flee. Yuna grabbed Sun Ho's shoulders. This is it. This is how we win. We do not need to destroy 10,000 ships. We just need to destroy one. She brought Sun Ho to Admiral Tejo. When Tejo heard the idea, he smiled for the first time in weeks. One target, he said. We focus everything on the Queen. The Genesis bomb, our best ships, everything. If we can kill her, we can win. But there was a problem. The Queen ship would be at the center of the swarm, protected by thousands of vessels. Getting close enough to attack her would be almost impossible. Captain Jinwoo Baek volunteered. My squadron is the best in the fleet, he said. We have fold drives. We can appear right next to the Queen, deliver the weapon, and fold out before the swarm can react. It is a suicide mission, Tejo said. Yes, Jinwoo agreed. But Earth is worth dying for. The fleet moved to the edge of the solar system. 300 ships formed a line between the Vec and Earth. Humans, Cylon, Bren, Torva, Kel, and a dozen other species stood together for the first time in galactic history. They waited. On the third day, sensors detected something at the edge of the system. A disturbance in space, growing larger every second. Then, the Vec arrived. 10,000 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They filled the screen with darkness, a wall of biological horror stretching across the void. Each ship was alive, grown from flesh and bone and hatred. They pulsed with terrible life, hungry to consume. And at their center, vast beyond imagining, was the Queen. She was not a ship. She was a moon. A living moon covered in weapons and hangars and spawning chambers. Even as the fleet watched, new Vec vessels emerged from her body, adding to the swarm. Admiral Tejo looked at the enemy that had come to eat his species. He felt fear. Anyone who did not feel fear at this sight was a fool. But he also felt something else: pride. 300 ships against 10,000. It should have been hopeless. But humans had never been good at knowing when to give up. He opened a channel to all ships. Today, the Vec have come to feed. They have eaten 200 civilizations. They think we will be easy prey. Like all the others, he paused. They are wrong. Today, we teach the galaxy what happens when prey fights back. Today, we show every species that has ever been afraid that fear is not the end. Today, humanity and its allies make the Vec bleed. He drew his sword. It was an old weapon, useless in space combat. But it had belonged to his grandfather, and his grandfather's grandfather. It reminded him what humans were. All ships, attack. 300 vessels surged forward to meet 10,000. The battle for Earth had begun. The first wave of Vec ships crashed against the Allied fleet like a tide of nightmares. They were fast and hungry, driven by the Queen's singular desire to consume. But they had never fought prey like this. Human ships folded through space, appearing behind enemy lines and vanishing before weapons could track them. Silence engines tore holes in reality, swallowing Vec vessels whole. The biological ships tried to adapt, but they had been bred for eating, not thinking. When they met something that fought back, they did not know what to do. Captain Jinwoo Baek led his squadron through the chaos. His target was the Queen, but reaching her meant flying through thousands of enemy ships. Every second, his pilots folded and fired, leaving trails of destroyed Vec behind them. Thunder Squadron, stay together, he ordered. We push through to the Queen. Nothing else matters. Around him, the battle raged. Silent ships fought with desperate courage, their old weapons burning hot as they fired again and again. Bren engineers kept damaged ships flying with brilliant repairs. Kel warriors boarded Vec vessels and tore them apart with their bare hands. Species that had never known each other were dying together, united against a common enemy, but it was not enough. For every Vec ship that fell, 3 more emerged from the Queen's body. She was creating them faster than the fleet could destroy them. Slowly, inevitably, the Allied line began to break. Admiral Tejo watched the battle from his command ship. He had known this would happen. Numbers were numbers. Will and technology could only do so much against 10,000 enemies. Admiral, Dr. Yuna said, we need to deploy the Genesis bomb. If we wait any longer, we will not have enough ships left to protect it. Tejo nodded. Captain Baek, status? Jinwoo's voice came through, strained but steady. Halfway there, Admiral. We have lost 6 ships, but we are still moving. Understood. Dr. Kim is transferring the Genesis bomb to your vessel. You know what to do. Yes, sir. Jinwoo paused. It has been an honor, Admiral. The honor is mine, Captain. All of ours. The Genesis bomb was loaded onto Jinwoo's ship. It was a small thing, barely larger than a person. But inside it was power enough to break reality itself. Jinwoo looked at his remaining pilots. Good people. Brave people. They knew they were probably going to die. They were still here. One more push, he told them. We get this bomb to the Queen. That is all that matters. If we do that, everyone else lives. Our families, our friends, our species. That is worth any price. They flew. The Vec seemed to sense danger. Ships converged on Jinwoo's squadron from all directions. The pilots fought like demons, folding through space and firing without pause. One by one, they fell, but they kept moving forward. Jinwoo watched his friend Dohun die when a Vec ship crashed into his vessel. He watched Yeri sacrifice herself to clear a path through enemy lines. He watched good people become burning wreckage in the darkness of space, and he kept flying. Finally, he saw her. The Queen. Up close, she was even more terrifying. A living mountain of flesh and hate, ancient beyond understanding. Her weapons fired at everything, filling space with death. Jinwoo's ship was damaged, his engines were failing, but he was close enough. Admiral, he said, I am in position. But my full drive is destroyed. I cannot get out. There was silence on the channel. Then Taeho's voice came, heavy with grief. Understood, Captain. The choice is yours. Jinwoo looked at the Genesis bomb, at the Queen, at Earth, blue and beautiful in the distance. He thought of his parents, his sister, the students he had trained, the world he had sworn to protect. It is not really a choice, he said. Tell my family I love them. Tell them I would do it again. He armed the bomb. For Earth. He flew directly into the Queen's body. The Genesis bomb detonated. For one moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself began to tear. A wound opened in space, growing larger and larger. It was not light or darkness. It was something else. The absence of existence itself. The wound swallowed the Queen. Her screams echoed through space as her ancient body was torn apart atom by atom. 10,000 Vec ships suddenly felt their connection to her vanish. The swarm went insane. Ships crashed into each other. Weapons fired randomly. Vessels fled in all directions, no longer controlled by a single mind. The careful coordination that had made the Vec unstoppable was gone. Admiral Taeho saw his chance. All ships. Attack with everything you have. Destroy them while they are lost. The Allied fleet surged forward. Human ships tore through confused Vec vessels. Silent pilots fought with joyful fury. Bren engineers pushed their ships beyond all limits. Together, they broke the swarm, but the wound in space was growing. Dr. Yuna watched her screens with horror. Admiral, the Genesis bomb is destabilizing. The wound is expanding toward the sun. If it reaches it, Sun Ho Kang ran calculations faster than he had ever calculated anything. His hands shook as he typed. I can close it. There is a frequency that might force the wound to collapse, but I need to transmit it from inside the effect. Yuna grabbed his arm. That would kill you. Sun Ho smiled. It was a strange, peaceful smile. Maybe, but probably not. I have done the math. 60% chance of survival. He did not tell her the real number was closer to 10. Jinwoo gave everything to save us, Sun Ho said. I can do my part. He launched in a small shuttle before anyone could stop him. The wound in space was vast now, beautiful, and terrible. Sun Ho flew into its edge and began transmitting. The frequency worked. The wound began to close, collapsing in on itself. Sun Ho felt his shuttle being crushed, felt reality bending around him. He closed his eyes and thought of the message he had found 3 months ago, the message that had started everything. The council had thought humans were sheep. They had learned otherwise. The wound closed. Somehow, impossibly, Sun Ho's shuttle emerged from the other side, damaged beyond repair, barely holding together, but still flying. When they brought him back to the command ship, Dr. Yuna hugged him so hard he thought his ribs would break. Admiral Taeho shook his hand and said nothing. Words were not needed. The battle was over. Of 10,000 Vec ships, less than 100 escaped. They fled into the darkness of space, scattered and broken. They would never threaten anyone again. The Allied fleet had lost almost half their number. 140 ships destroyed. Thousands of lives lost. But Earth was safe. Humanity had survived. 1 year later, Sun Ho Kang stood before the first meeting of the new Galactic Assembly. He was no longer a simple engineer. By some twist of fate, he had become Earth's ambassador to the galaxy. Representatives from 100 species filled the Great Hall. Silent and Bren and Kel and many others. Species that had been enemies were now allies. Species that had never known each other were learning to work together. The old council ruled through fear and lies, Sun Ho said. They told species they were weak. They kept them divided. They fed them to monsters to save themselves. We are here to build something different. He looked at the faces before him. So many different shapes, so many different colors, but all of them had chosen to be here. Together, humanity offers a new way. Honesty, even when it hurts. Partnership, even when it is hard. And a promise. We will never sell another species to monsters. We will never keep others weak for our own benefit. We will build a galaxy where everyone can be strong, where everyone can be free. In the audience, Colonel Mireille Choi sat with the new Joint Peacekeeping Force. She commanded ships from 12 different species, all working together to protect the galaxy. Dr. Yuna Kim led an academy where she taught fold technology to anyone who wanted to learn. Human weapons were no longer human secrets. They belonged to everyone. On Luna Base, a memorial stood for those who had died. At its center was a statue of Captain Jinwoo Baek, his hand reaching toward the stars. The inscription read, "They came to harvest sheep. They found wolves. They will not forget." Admiral Taeho Park had retired. He lived in a small house by the sea in Korea, watching the waves and remembering friends who were gone. Sometimes, children from the nearby village came to hear his stories. He told them about the war, about the heroes who had saved Earth, about what it meant to fight for something bigger than yourself. "Were you afraid?" a young girl asked him once. Taeho smiled. "Yes, very afraid. But being brave does not mean not being afraid. It means being afraid and fighting anyway. It means choosing to stand when you want to run. That is what makes us human." The girl thought about this for a while. Then she nodded. Satisfied. "I want to be brave like you," she said. "You already are," Taeho replied. "All of you are." That is what they never understood about us. Humans are not special because we are strong. We are special because we choose to be strong, even when we are weak. We choose to fight, even when we are scared. We choose to hope, even when hope is foolish. He looked up at the sky, where ships from 100 worlds flew together in peace. The galaxy feared us at first. They thought we would become new tyrants, new monsters. But we showed them something else. We showed them what humans really are. Not conquerors, not destroyers, just people who refuse to give up. The sun set over the ocean. The stars came out, bright and beautiful. Somewhere out there, species that had lived in fear for thousands of years were learning what freedom meant. Somewhere out there, the children of 100 worlds were growing up without the shadow of the Council or the VEC. Humanity had paid a terrible price for this future. But looking at it now, Taeho knew it was worth it. Every sacrifice, every loss, every tear, worth it. He smiled, closed his eyes, and listened to the waves.